What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing another episode of Battlefront 2 Mythbusters, this time focusing on the Lightside Heroes and which of them has the fastest time to kill. Now, I'm sure most of you already know, but for those who don't, time to kill essentially just means how long it takes to kill an enemy, and there are a couple of different tests I did for each character. The point of this video, and honestly every single Mythbusters episode, isn't to actually simulate an in-game situation, rather to just test it in a controlled environment. I get comments on these videos every week saying there's no point testing this because it's not how it works in a real multiplayer match, and that is 100% true, but that's not really what it's meant to simulate. All we're really trying to find out is who can deal the most damage in the shortest amount of time, so like I said, it is in a controlled situation, and pretty much with each character I'm going to be testing their base weapons, with saber heroes attacking from behind and blasters landing headshots, and then for each character I will then test some of their most deadly ability and attack combos as well. For those ability tests, I did include any star cards that can increase the damage output as well, but I'll explain each test as I show it anyway. The timer that you're going to see on screen starts at the exact frame when the damage is first dealt and ends on the exact frame when the red hit marker shows up, so these will all be accurate to the exact frame. There are some weird damage reduction numbers in arcade, so the actual time itself might not be 100% accurate, but the fastest will still be the fastest and the slowest will still be the slowest regardless of what the time says. So we're going to pay attention more to the rankings 1 through 10 rather than the actual time to kill. So, getting straight into it, the first test was on Luke, and this is just his regular saber attacks with no star cards attacking from behind. As you can see, it takes him just over 2 seconds to take out Kylo. Next up, I tested him again with that Intensify card, giving the max amount of damage after I'd killed Kylo about 7 times, and this actually decreased the time to kill by roughly 25%. Moving on to Leia, I just tested her regular blaster to the head with no cards equipped, and it came in at almost exactly 1.5 seconds. Next up, I tried it out with her rapid fire ability again to the head, and it did have the extended rapid fire active time card equipped, although that doesn't affect the damage anyway, and this came in a tad quicker at 1.3 seconds. Moving on to Han, first up I tested the blaster to the head without star cards, and again this was almost exactly 1.5 seconds, just slightly slower than Leia. I then tested a combo of his detonite with the sharpshooter ability, and surprisingly this was actually slower than the DL-44. Lastly, I also just wanted to try with only the sharpshooter to just remove that animation time, and this was quicker than the last test, but even more surprising than that test was this was actually slower than his base weapon. Moving on, we have Chewie, and there were a lot of tests for Chewie. First up I tried with his bowcaster to the head without charging, and this came in at about 2.5 seconds. Next I tried it holding down the trigger to charge the blaster, and this was only slightly faster because of that animation time. I did notice though that after 2 shots Kylo was almost dead, so for the next test I used 2 charged shots and then finished off with a regular shot, and this was way quicker, coming in at 1.9 seconds. Lastly, I then tested it with Furious Bowcaster active aiming at the head, and this came in as one of the fastest so far at 1.45 seconds. Moving on, we have Lando, and again this was just his base blaster to the head with no star cards, and even with the low damage this came in at 1.6 seconds due to that crazy rate of fire. I then tried with a combo of Sharpshot and then the base weapon again, but this one was actually slower, which is kind of no surprise just due to the animation time. Moving on, we have Rey, and again this was just her regular saber attack from behind, coming in with a pretty slow time actually of 2.8 seconds. Next I equipped the extra damage cards for both the Dash Strike and Mind Trick abilities, used both the abilities in tandem and then followed up with some more saber attacks, and this actually wiped a whole second off, coming in at 1.8 seconds this time. Moving on, we have Yoda, and this was of course his regular attack from behind with no cards, coming in at close to 2.9 seconds. I then just added the extra damage to villains card and did the exact same test, and it actually didn't deal enough extra damage to take off an attack, so again it came in with the exact same time. Moving on, we have Finn, and again just the regular blaster to the head, and this was pretty fast actually, coming in at about 1.8 seconds. I then tested Deadeye with the extra damage card equipped, and obviously because Deadeye can't get headshots, this was actually much slower, coming in at pretty much double the time of the regular blaster. Lastly, I tested Undercover Team with the Glee-44, and surprisingly this was actually about a tenth of a second faster than the regular EL-16. Moving on now to Obi-Wan, and his regular saber attacks to the back came in with a pretty slow time, which can probably be expected for a defensive character, coming in at 2.8 seconds. I then used Defensive Rush with the extra damage card equipped, used that heavy attack at the end of it and then kept attacking, and because of that ability delay afterwards it did actually come in slower than his base attacks. Now lastly, moving on to Anakin, I tried with his regular attacks and no cards, and this came in at about the 2 second mark on the dot. I then equipped the Massive Strikes card, and this takes off a whole saber swing, with this one coming in at around the 1.6 second mark. So that is going to be it for all of the testing, guys. Rather than going back through it all, I'll just leave an image on screen of the rankings. Again, I've got to remind you that this isn't necessarily meant to simulate an in-game situation, but at the same time, knowing this ranking does give somewhat of an indicator of who can deal damage the fastest and who can't in a good situation anyway. So hopefully it will at least somewhat help you guys out. As I was making this one, I was almost wondering if it was worth making, to be honest, because it is all so situational, the perfect example being that Leia is at the top when most people would agree that she probably isn't the greatest most of the time. But the motto has been, with a lot of you guys echoing in the comments throughout this Mythbusters series, that it is better to know these things rather than to not know them. So like I said, hopefully this does help you guys out, even if it only helps you once. I will of course be back in a few weeks with the follow-up to this one, going over all the dark side characters instead, so if you do want to see that, then make sure to smash that like button to let me know that you guys do want me to follow up with this episode. If you are new to the channel, then feel free to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any more Battlefront 2 videos or live streams. Thank you all so much for watching, you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.